The Huskies baseball player was striding to home plate. Because he's such a favorite, I watch closely what he ate. How do you keep in shape, sir? Every day I eat good meat. But isn't that too costly now? His answer I repeat. I'm a high-powered guy who eats high-powered chili and jumbo tamales as well. The high-powered brand is the best that is canned. Nutritious, deliciously swell. I'm a high-powered guy who eats high-powered chili and jumbo tamales as well. They're spicy and nice and a thrifty low price. High-power rings the dinner bell.
You can't serve better.
High-power rings the dinner bell.
This noon and every weekday at noon, High Power's Date with Tom Duggan is presented transcribed by the makers of High Power Chili and High Power Jumbo Tamales. And now let's go out and meet that High Power man, Tom Duggan.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, for High Power Chili and High Power Jumbo Tamales. Now, I could give you a couple of hundred guesses, and I don't think you could figure out where our broadcast is originating from today. As a matter of fact, we're not in Chicago at all. We're in the heart of the famous meatpacking district of Kansas City. Yes, ma'am, right in the middle of the famous area that produces those wonderful Kansas City steaks. The folks at Rutherford invited me to come to Kansas City to see the actual processing and canning of those famous high-power products, high-power chili and high-power jumbo tamales. So, since everything depends on the meat that goes into these products, we're starting at the packing plant, and our host is the plant manager, Don Smith. Don, you come on over here. Seen any good cattle lately?
A lot of our plant.
We haven't got too much time, so I better get right into the process of what's going on. Now, how about the cattle that are bought and processed in this plant? Where do they come from?
They come from the Kansas City market.
What's the Kansas City market? Is that a
it's
clearinghouse?
the Kansas City stockyards. It's about a mile from here.
And where do you draw your cattle from? All the surrounding
All
area?
the surrounding area.
Any from Texas?
Quite a few.
They tell you how they're going to vote this year?
No.
Okay, we'll try to get them if we can before anything happens to them. Is there any particular type of animal best fitted for processing into chili and tamale meats?
The leaner type cattle.
Well, then you have certain buyers that are experts for this particular business at the Kansas City market looking for that type cattle?
That's right.
But is it a pruning process? Do they look around, see a lot of cattle in a pen or something, and say, well, there's a lean one, I'll take that one, and that one, or what?
No, generally speaking, they have to, they do some of that on the odd lots, but they, a lot of times they have to buy large lots of cattle, which we sort the cattle out in our own coolers.
I see. Now, why lean animals?
Well, you can get a more uniform product that way because you need so much lean meat in your product, and we add the fat by adding suet with it.
Well, you mean that say if you got fat animals that it would cause too much grease in the product?
It would cook up too much to where you would end up with really less meat in your products.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that you're watching things like that because I'm chubby enough as it is, and I understand that might enlarge me even more. Now, how many animals a day are processed here?
Around 175.
That's a whole mess of animals to be
yes,
processed.
It is.
Tell me, for an animal to actually go through the packing process, how long would it take?
From the time the cattle is knocked on the killing floor, it takes about 20 minutes.
And now, how about the inspection by the United States inspectors of the meat?
As you've seen on the killing floor, we have a very rigid inspection. We have 2 veterinaries there at all times checking for anything that may be wrong with the animal in the line of disease and also for cleanliness.
Well, how about the inspectors? Do they put some sort of a stamp on each animal?
Every cut is stamped. On each side, there is 13 stamps on each side of beef.
Now, for the quality of the beef, do they do that after the animal is dressed and all and hanging in the what do you call it, the refrigerated room?
That's right. The quality is selected by a different agency of the government after the cattle have been chilled.
Okay. Now, what happens to the meat after it's dressed in this plant?
Most of the meat is sent up to our boning plant, which is then boned and used in our canning plant.
Okay, Don, then I guess we better go to the boning plant. Thanks, Don Smith, for being on the program.
You're welcome.
Well, I never figured on being in a boning plant with this type of bones. I thought they'd have dots all over them. But here we are at the boning plant of the Rutherford Company and with the plant superintendent, Sweet Arlen. Sweet, it's nice to see you.
How do you do, everybody?
Now, Sweet means you're German. Is that right?
Absolutely, 100%.
What's your first name?
Harold J.
Harold, it's nice to see you. Sweet, of course, isn't a bad nickname, and it's good for identification purposes. Now, it's cold enough in here, it's almost up to our knees. What's the temperature?
36 degrees.
Exactly, with a boning plant. Of course, it means that you're boning the cattle, but what do these fellows have to be experts to
They
actually
do.
get the
Each
bones
man
out?
has to know his own job
Yeah.
so that they can remove the bones out of the cattle and also take the meat with them.
Well, Sweet, with these fellows, is it a process that they work at some other part of the packing business and then finally get into this?
No, they take this up as a trade.
How about this plant? Is it union?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
100%.
And these fellows have a union all their own, or are they part of the Butchers Union?
Part of the Amalgamated Butchers Workmen of North America.
Okay, that's fine. I belong to about 3 unions myself, and we're practically brothers under the skin. Now, what are they doing? What part of the cattle is this that they're working
these
on?
3 men right here are working on rounds. They're boning rounds.
Well, that guy looked like he was trying to crush one there. He picked it up and laid it down.
They have to be fast.
And what's a round?
The round is off the hind quarter of the animal.
Uh-huh. Wasn't there something about the neck up here before or something?
The chucks. You missed that part, though. They were through with them. It's a 4-quarter beef.
Well, I hate to have one of those guys take after me, one of those knives.
Well, they're pretty handy with them.
What is the next process after the meat is boned and the selected portions are ready for chili and tamale meat?
Well, I take it over to the grinding room.
Oh, what do? You grind everything up over there?
Uh-huh.
And now, you have it for the chili and the tamales?
Chili, tamales, and also our buttered steak.
What's this buttered steak business?
Well, that's a new steak that we're putting out. That's absolutely one of the finest products on the market. It has pure creamery butter on it. There's half-pound packages, 4 steaks to a package.
Well, I understand that it's coming in around the Chicago area,
That's right.
too.
I understand it's up there now.
That's the stuff, because I get hungry once in a
Well,
while.
then you fellas go out and buy some, because we got plenty down here to ship up there.
Okay, you just pass those steaks for me to shuffle,
Well,
and I'll
we'll
shuffle.
do it.
Now, what about these long, transparent bags that
Well,
you have?
that's the casings that the ground beef is stuffed into, and then run into the sharp freezer, temperature below 0, and then brought out the following morning and sliced.
These transparent bags, what are they made of?
It's a visqueen casing.
And how long do they last? Are they indefinite
No.
things for...
We use them stuffed once only, and then they're peeled off just like you can throw it away.
Uh-huh. All right, now you say how many steaks to a package?
There's 4 steaks to a package, half-pound packages.
Okay. Now, what about this business of buttered steaks? Was that honest-to-goodness butter the
That's
girls are
pure
using
creamy
on?
butter, 90 score or better.
And they seem to ladle it on.
Yeah,
Why don't
they
you
have to
caution
spread
them?
it. Well, that's what they call a buttered spread, see?
Yeah, but it seems to me they could save a little money. After all, 90-score butter costs quite a little bit. Why don't they spread it on a little bit thinner?
Well,
Nobody's watching them but me.
I know, but we want to darn sure they get some butter.
All right, sweet. What happens to the chili meat after it's been boned, processed, and ground?
It's sent to the canning factory.
And what over there? It's the next process is just to get it into the
into the
can.
cans.
But let's get around to some of this other stuff here. Now you say these things are the chucks here.
No, that's your hind quarter meat. Those are rounds.
All right, and now this is going in for our steaks and also for our chili and tamale meat.
Well,
Huh?
we use some of it, not all of it.
All right, now is every part of the cattle? What are the best parts? Is this one of the best parts of it?
It's one of the right there. Your rounds is the best part of the cattle.
I see. Is there a lot?
But
Tremendous
each
amount of meat
each
there?
one of them has their purpose. Now, you take 4-quarter meat, they have to use it on certain items where they can't use hind-quarter meat.
I see. But these fellows know how to cut any part of the
That's
cattle
right.
to bone.
They can operate on any part of the cattle.
Say you could take one of the fellows from one of the other parts of the plant. Could they come in here and do any of this work?
I doubt it.
How many
Unless
people
you did a
have
butcher.
for your boning plant here? How many people have you got?
There's,
How many departments would you
well,
have?
we have the boning room, the grinding room, packing room, and steak line.
And you have how many people would you say in all
Oh,
of
that's
these?
about 22.
That's a nice chance. You get a chance to fire somebody every once in a while.
Well, they're awful hard to replace right now, good boners, so kind of cater with them a little.
Sweet. It's a magnificently clean place and very, very sanitary. And I think you're doing a fine job here. And I think I better go over and see what those cans look like now.
All right, do that.
Thanks,
Glad to
sweet
have you.
darling.
You bet.
Well, now for the canning factory, and the gentleman in charge is none other than Fred Roberts. Fred, it's nice to see you.
Very happy to see you.
First time I've been in anything like this, so you're going to have to treat me as though I was a mongoloid idiot, which I probably am anyway. Now, when the meat gets here, Fred, from the processing plants, or has been processed up to here, it's coming in for its final to-do. What happens first?
Well, first we get it in and then we weigh it. Weigh it up in certain batches on the size batch that we make, and then it is cooked.
I see. Now, this is for both the chili and the tamale.
Well, they are handled separately and they're treated a little different. On our tamales, or the tamale meat, that meat is received and it's cooked but not canned that day. And if it's cooked and cooled overnight, and then it is reprocessed the next morning, because your tamale has to be a fairly cool tamale to be able to form.
I say, well, how about the cornmeal mush? When is that fixed up?
The cornmeal mush is fixed up approximately 2 hours before you start an operation, and you have fresh cooked mush throughout the day's operation.
Now, Fred, we might as well stay on the high-power jumbo tamales. I noticed that all the girls here are making the tamales by hand, wrapping them and all.
Yes, they are.
Well, how come is that? I thought that they would have machines for such a thing. You make so many of them.
Well, we have found that the hand-wrapped tamale gets a lot more personal attention, and also we can make the tamale the way we think the people likes it.
How do you think the people like it? And I know they do.
Well, a soft, palatable tamale. And if you go to machine, why, it's just pretty hard to make and wrap a tamale with a machine.
So what we ought to be screaming about is handmade tamales then, huh?
Well, I guess that's right.
Okay, high-power, handmade jumbo tamales. Now, these girls working through here, they say get them into the can, comes down here, and they're canned and sealed. Now, you're saying something about a sterile product. What are you talking about?
Well, in any canned meat item, it has to be made sterile to hold up on the shelf. Therefore, after the canning and closing process, the can has to be cooked under pressure. The same as home canning. When you can fruit or vegetables or anything at home, you still have to cook that under pressure or cook it for a long enough time to kill all your bacteria action so the canned product will hold up.
Fred, when you go home at night, do you yell at your wife because there's so much noise in here? It seems to be just a natural tone of voice for you, is to be screaming all the time.
No, I'm afraid I don't. I'm just sort of used to it.
Now, let's get over here to the chili. I notice you have these vats here, and they have some sort of whatever the chili compound is. It's our own formula, isn't it?
That's right, yes.
And so after that, the meat is added?
The meat is added, yes.
Or then what's the cooking process?
Well, the meat, first we start out and we put our basic seasoning and foods in there and a base for your chili. Then we add our meat, sear our meat. Then after that, we put in our prepared bean, which has been soaked overnight and washed and cooked.
And the meat is mostly cooked before the beans are added. Is
that
right?
Is right, yes.
But the beans are cooked with the meat, really, because they don't take too long to cook?
No, they're just mixed with the meat. They're pre-cooked so we can get the bean shall we say this, we get the bean like we want it. In other words, remove some of the pre-starch from that bean so it won't go in the can.
I see. All right, now you have these vats here. How do you keep maybe a sedimentation type process from taking effect where, the sauce on the chili sauce on one part of the chili might be heavier than the other?
Well, we have our 6 main vats there that each hold 230 gallon, and they have agitators in them.
Oh, it's agitators.
And then from there, we go to a master mixing kettle, whereby we've got maintain the same level all the time and get the chili in the can like we want it.
Fred, it was real nice talking to you. Thanks for being on the program.
Yes, sir.
Well, we've had a lot of fun today meeting these folks here in Kansas City who made these 2 wonderful products, high-power chili and high-power homemade jumbo tamales, handmade. And friends, you can take it from Tom Duggan. I've been watching these folks make and can these products, and you just can't beat them. Quality control all the way. Every care taken to assure you that there are absolutely no finer chili or tamale products than those bearing the famous name High Power. I wish you could all have been here in Kansas City with me today. It's been an interesting trip. Meantime, next time you make a trip to the grocery, do yourself and your family a big favor and put in a supply of high-power chili and high-power jumbo tamales. Just tell your grocer that Tom Duggan sent you, because Tom knows, for a fact, they're the best.
We're all high-powered folks who eat high-powered chili and jumbo tamales as well. Give your budget relief, serve the best tender beef. High-power rings the dinner bell.
You can't serve better.
High-power rings